Daily on the front page there, why KCSE students want to be teachers. Now, 30,000 learners from the 2023 KCSE exams applied for Bachelor of Education and degree course, a move attributed to scrapping of mathematics and English as the minimum entry requirements for the program. That's a story that continues on page 4 of the paper. And that report was released by the Kenya Universities and Colleges Placement Service yesterday, and it links the upsurge in the application to the Bachelor of Education to the scrapping of mathematics and English as the minimum course. And the cumulative approved student capacity so far in institutions of higher learning is about 1,078,000 students, with about 258,000 more students placed across programs offered for the placement cycle in the 2023-2024 cycle. So do take a look at that report. But clearly, then, you know, a lot more students or candidates rather are expressing interest in the education sector. Under the new university admission grading system, students are selected based on their performance in mathematics and the best language. So this should be English, Kiswahili or Kenyan Sign Language, as well as the best 5 from the remaining subjects. But these previously were selected based on their performance in English, mathematics and Kiswahili. And this has since changed, and the reforms seem to have opened up doors for many more students and candidates to opt for the Bachelor of Education degree. Meanwhile, data shows that male applicants continue to dominate placement in degree programs and continue a trend that has been observed since the beginning of the central placement system, with female students being the majority of those placed in TVETs, a trend that, according to this article, began in 2020 and 2021. So this placement process, it gives a special consideration to eligible applicants on account of several issues, including gender, marginalization, and minority of regions, as well as disability, as stipulated by the affirmative action policy and the ministry that the Ministry of Education uses to classify these allocations. So you take a look at that report on page 4 of the paper. But let's take you back to the front page of the People Daily. At the top page there is a report on how Mogoka is turning coast men into zombies, a story that continues on page 3 of the People Daily. And we've seen several coastal leaders, including the Kilifi Governor Gideon Mung'aro, come out and pledge to issue an order to ban the sale, even the use of Mogoka in Kilifi County. He says it is taking a huge toll on the youth in his area. Now, of course, a lot of reactions have come in from this, especially from those who are stakeholders of the business, so to speak. But when you take a look at the impact, then a report here of the Mombasa Women Empowerment for Mental Health Treatment and Rehabilitation Center in Miritini, Mombasa, shows a very troubling story of men recovering from the grip of the stimulant, and an account of lives literally left in disarray, marriages shattered as a result of the use of Mogoka. And a psychiatrist in Mombasa says that Mogoka's severe mental health has severe mental health impact on long-term users. And he says both Mogoka and Mira grant temporary euphoria, but eventually degrade the brain. So it's an interesting report there on page 3 of the People Daily. Do take a look at that, as more and more counties now look to not only stop the sale, but perhaps, you know, also bring in regulation when it comes to the business itself. But again, back to the front page of the People Daily, and that's the picture on the front page. And so President William Ruto is on that 4-day state visit of the United States, a historic visit there, not just for Kenya, but for the African continent, this being the first African visit to the US by an African leader in about 15 years. Now, We have a picture of the president, his first lady, Rachel Ruto, and a former American professional basketball player, Shaquille O'Neal, posing for a photo during the tour at the King Center historic site in Georgia, Atlanta. And it's an interesting picture, and next to the president there is the youngest child of civil rights leader Martin Luther King, and her name is Albertine King. So we've seen a lot of pictures on social media making rounds on this U.S. state visit, and what made headlines and really caught my eye is the moment when President William Ruto met Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, I think the president was in awe, guys. It's been trending on social media. The fact that, I mean, look at that height difference. First of all, Shaquille obviously towering above everybody in that picture, and Ruto was all smiles. So let's take a look at those pictures. Some of them continue from page 2, but we have most of them on page 6 of the paper, a continuation of that report as Ruto takes that 4-day state visit over the United States. Now, of course, it's not just pictures and fun. When you take a look at page 2 of the paper, Kenya and America have signed a 3-year deal to eradicate HIV, and the governments have also made several agreements to enhance collaboration in cutting-edge research and a multi-billion shilling investment in the digital health program as Kenya prioritizes preventive and promotive health under the universal health coverage system. And many, of course, hope that this meeting will be for the benefit of Kenyans. Several MOUs have been signed so far as Ruto embarks on this meeting. But let's bring in a panelist here in studio, Embakasi North Member of Parliament, Honorable James Gakuya. Mheshimiwa, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for being with us on The New Dawn. It's interesting to take a look at us making headlines on the Daily. What do you make of that picture on the front page of the People Daily, of the president meeting Shaquille O'Neal? And I'm sure you've seen the videos, but maybe say the president was in total awe of Shaquille O'Neal's height. Well, what do you make of this?
Allow me to salute the viewers wherever they are watching us from and coming to the portal. Anyway, I think it's an amazing one, but the only thing which is here is the height, because the height seems to be extraordinary. But nevertheless, the size does not matter. What matters is the quality of the visit and the outcome of the visit and the values that actually came out of these particular discussions. To me, as much as the hate is there, it's normal, because hates are God-given. And
it's great to see that happened, but you take a look at page 6 of the People Daily. So America has distanced itself from Ruto's 200 million shilling jet. So the United States government says it did not pay for President William Ruto's private jet to America on Sunday. Now, I sat on this very same platform yesterday with members of Parliament, some who claimed that, the media is propagating an agenda without fact that the U.S. fully paid for this trip. And here is the U.S. distancing itself from the fact that Kenyans will spend 200 million shillings on the jet alone on this 4-day state visit. Forget the amount of people, the number of people that traveled with the president on this visit. Now, of course, there is a bigger purpose for this visit, and you sit in the Trade Committee of the National Assembly. They will be speaking about the MOUs that have been signed and what you see coming out of this for the benefit of Kenyans. But the fact that we are seeing such use of resources, taxpayers' resources, and when we're saying the country is unable to pay professionals like doctors and teachers, what does this say to Kenyans?
One thing, let me state very clear that the issue to do with the jets, even though it could be or a deal that has already settled by the host. Me, sometimes I do assess a situation of where, assuming that we had 2 occasions when Obama came to this country, when he was the head of state. And going by the kind of security, the kind of jets that you arrive here with, and the beasts, it tells you that, in fact, that is a pure budget from the from the U.S. country. I can only say the cost is too high because of our situation, of our economic situation. But for a head of state who represents the Republic of Kenya in such a visit, me, I don't find it so exorbitant. If it assures the security of the head of state and comforts his entourage, it only brings some issues since our economy is somehow in shambles. But if it would be economically fit, I don't think that, in fact, it costs too much, depending on what are we gaining out of this particular trip. Because if the trip cannot gain enough to pay the chopper, the jet, and the entourage, then we are minus. And I don't think that, in fact, if we gain less than what we spend, it's of no value. But if the trip can be able to secure good enough for us, and maybe multiply the 200 million jet cost, let me, it's a price to the country. And I would also urge Kenyans, because they have been clamoring, even issue to do with renovating the State House and those other state projects. These are public facilities, and the head of state will use them when he's in office. And once he walk out, he leave with them. And therefore, we should keep them on a situation, on a status where they are well taken care of, because it is head of state which lives there. It's the deputy president of the country which lives there. So I don't think it is too exorbitant if the money are prudently used. It's only that if the money is being used on a manner that, in fact, it is to embezzle, that's only when we can raise alarms. Right.
You're right. I mean, the president does deserve a certain level of respect, But the president has also asked Kenyans to live within their means. We have Kibra Member of Parliament, Peter Orero, now joining us in studio. Mheshimiwa, good morning, and many thanks for joining us. Kenyans have been asked by the president to live within their means. And so it's great when I want to renovate my house and I have the funds to do it. So it's great when the government wants to renovate every state house lodge across the country, but how often does the president really go there? However, many may say that we're being short-sighted when we are questioning the cost of Ruto's trip. The U.S. Embassy in Nairobi says they did not pay for the trip of the jet, but will take care of Ruto's bills while in the U.S. And this includes transport and accommodation, but the only thing the government will take care of is the allowances for the Kenyan delegation, as well as transport from the U.S. back to Kenya. But in the wake of that same statement, live within your means, are we living within our means when we're seeing such splurging in the wake of said austerity measures by the government?
Thank you very, very much. Again, I must say I'm grateful that we are here this morning, inviting me, and to talk about these austerity measures. I think for once, we are left wondering whether the president means what he says and says what he means when you talk of austerity measures. It has come at a time that we are doing budget estimates. We did BPS, budget policy statements, sometimes back. We had baseline of certain funds that we were to use. And we are a house of rules. When we have BPS, budget policy statement, it brings into play the amount that we expect to use, the source of revenue, appropriation, the debts, and all that. When we have done this, then we can see the state of the economy of this country. It is surprising that we are doing budget estimates and we have cut certain expenditure, yet now the president is using a 200 million jet just to fly to the United States of America. He has not been there once. He has been there many times. And he has not spent that money exorbitantly like that. It leaves many Kenyans wondering, really, that are we living within our means? Of course, we are not living within our means. We have looked at, during our budget estimates, we have looked at a lot of budget cuts that the country cannot sustain. We cannot meet our targets in terms of revenue collection. We are, as a country now, living beyond our means. The example must be set by the president himself, because this country, at the moment, we are living in a borrowed lifetime in terms of the economic viability and in terms of the stability of this country in terms of the economy. So I am saying that as Kenyans, we need to rethink. We need to look at areas that we prioritize. So you were talking about the renovations of the State House. My friend Gekuya here is trying to really justify, but I know from what standpoint he's talking about. I want to tell him that we have had other presidents in this country, and we have never used such kind of colossal amounts of money in this country just to repair state houses, lodges. And we are told that it is going to be in billions the next 12 years, these budget lines. And we are going to suffer as a country to try and renovate places that we do not even stay in. They are saying they are public places. Me, I've never been to State Lodge in Mombasa. I have only been to State House maybe once or twice. So, and I'm one of those public people who can access those. What about those who are not able to access? Who are these public accessing where we want to renovate with 1.4 billion? It is wastage. Let us look at the state of the country and the state of the economy of this country before we start spending carelessly on matters that we can avoid. All right.
Of course, Gekuya, you mentioned that you should not chew more than we can bite. What do we say? For you, especially sitting in the trade committee, what do you see coming out of this trip that will benefit the hustler, the common man and chief?
I'm sure the 4-day tour has not yet complete. We are still waiting to see what is coming up. But I still have high hope that, in fact, there will be sounding values that will come out of this particular tour. I am sure it's not a tour in vain, and I'm sure there has to be gains. My only negative aspect is where we can spend a tune of a certain crucial money and gain less out of that particular trip. But in this particular trip, if the president can come back to the country with goodies that are in tunes of billions, me, I will not do much in the cost of the jet. I will value what we leap out of the trip. Yes. But I'm sure that, in fact, as well as the president is in America, there are areas of concern where I am sure that to be in the center of discussion, and this is the strategic trade investment partnership, which it has not come to approval. And I think it is the high time that actually he should urge the Congress House, including the incumbent head of state, to hasten this particular process so that we can have that particular bilateral agreement signed before September, when America is coming to an election. So this one, to me, is it can be a good booster. And if you can achieve this, to me, it can be a plus. Also, there is the pending issue of AGOA, which is coming to an end next year. And I think also when the head of state is in this particular important state of America, these matters should be discussed so that we can be sure that there can be what we call an extension of that particular bilateral trade. It is dear to our African countries, considering that it is a free trade where we sell to America without paying taxes. That, to me, is a good progress, and if we can be able to achieve the two, I would say the trip will be commendable enough.
All right, and so we keep keeping an eye on that trip as President William Ruto is just about to wind up that 4-day tour. But let's take a look at page 8 of the People Daily as we continue with the dailies today. So, advanced mission team is set to visit Haiti's airport operation base. Now, the plan to send Kenyan troops to Haiti is still on, and about 200 troops are said to be the first to go to Haiti. These troops will be used to guard Haiti's international airport in Port-au-Prince, as well as other government installations. They'll also hold meetings with other officials of the United Nations Integrated Office, as to be more aware of the security plans in the region. Now, of course, a lot of resistance, so to speak, has come with regard to the Haiti deployment since the story broke. Mheshimiwa Orero, what are your thoughts on the fact that Kenya continues to push on with this Haiti mission? And this is also highly connected to President William Ruto's trip in the U.S., don't you think?
It's not a coincidence that when the Haiti matter came up, our president was in the U.S. That is where he pledged that he is ready to support the Haitis. And again now, it is not a coincidence that our people have gone, the police, they have gone to inspect. There is an advanced mission team to Haiti, and our president is in the U.S. I think this could be some of the conditions that are put for our president so that he meets certain conditions. You wonder why Haiti is so close to Europe. Why are they not using their own soldiers to go and to do the operations at Haiti? Why would we take our policemen from Kenya all the way to Haiti to guard airport? And you know, there is lawlessness in Haiti. If you look at how the airport operates, when their prime minister was here and he went back, he could not even land in his own country as the head of the state. What about our policemen who are there? And normally, we never use our policemen to keep territorial states. We don't use the police to guard our country. We use our Air Force people. You use our army people to take care of our territory. And I have yet to see a country going to send their policemen to Haiti. We are sending our policemen. I don't think they would come back. I am not castigating doubts, but I will stand corrected that we have well-trained policemen to go and take care of the airport at Haiti, where we have lawlessness. I am very, very sorry for our policemen, because when this motion was brought to Parliament, we had a very, very heated debate whether we should sacrifice our young kids to go to Haiti and they might not come back alive because of the state of lawlessness in that place. You would never know who is armed, who is not armed, because they are not even uniformed. We have rugged military guys operating it around the airport. And I think this is one of the worst ideas that we can have as a country, that we send our policemen just for sake of the superpowers. I am afraid that if this continues, then we will not have where to put our heads when our policemen will go there. But we still have time. We still have time to urge the head of state to rescind his decision to send our policemen to Haiti, where we do not have a running government, a running system. The government is collapsing. We have these people taking over even at the airport. So I think it is the worst idea that should ever have come from Kenya.
Honorable Gakuya, we had a court that declared this deployment illegal. And so even after this move now to send the first 200 troops came, the Law Society of Kenya as well as Third Way Alliance moved to court, urging the president to cancel the deployment and obey the court orders issued earlier to stop it. The conversation of the government obeying court orders has many examples that can be given across many different sectors. What do you make of the fact that the government is pushing on with this plan despite the court terming it an illegality?
My observation on that one, unless there is hidden other negotiated arrangements, other than what we are seeing at the page of the book, I don't see any big reason why America, as a superpower, with the whole battalion of their armies, are not daring to step them in to take the charge of Haiti. And they want to come all the way to Africa, and especially to Kenya, to look for police team to go to man there. Then there lingers many questions. Why the America want to fund those who just step on there when they have army everywhere in the world and a big battalion, and they are not daring to do so? Then head of state pushing this particular aspect so much, to me, I'm reading some different fashion. That unless there is some other issues that are negotiated that the country may achieve, and then this becomes a compromise, then I don't see any big reason why. Why do we risk our police? Even though I am sure that, in fact, they will go willingly, because I'm sure that, in fact, out of that hardship situation, it pays well. But why do we take those serious risks when we are not very sure of their comeback? Even though money is so dear that actually we are moving out there so that we come back rich, surely the money can be anything to compare with our lives? This is a big question to me.
All right.
And I still have a gray area on that. And until I am convinced, as of now, I am not convinced at all.
All right, so the announcement is that the deployment may be happening any time from now, perhaps in the next few weeks. But let's wind up with us making headlines on the dailies. Let's finish up with that picture on page 10 of the People Daily. We'll be discussing this a bit later, but of course we say a picture, speaks 1,000 words. So report there on the finance bill. When we come back, we have that big conversation of the state of the nation. We'll be discussing us making headlines on the Standard newspaper on the front page there. Ruto versus DP, return of Tanga. Or is it? We're taking a look at that, as well as the latest developments in education as the Kenya Central Colleges Placement Authority there places students in different TVETs and universities, institutions of higher learning across the country. Let's take a break, but that conversation is coming up shortly. Do stay with us.